सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओं. In Bhagavad Gita, we are in the 4th chapter, completed up to sloka number 3. Now we will take up sloka number 4 onwards. Before that, we'll have a quick recap of what happened in the last class. From Lord Krishna's teaching in the previous 3 chapters, we came to know that there is no choice with regard to spiritual sadhanas, especially Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. You should remember that all spiritual sadhanas are broadly categorized or classified into 2. One is Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga means knowing one's own real self, the reality of one's own self. And the second is the Karma Yoga, which is meant for preparing the mind for knowledge. And all sadhanas that we do to prepare the mind will come under Karma Yoga. Even Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga will come under Karma Yoga only. So all forms of meditations we do to refine and sharpen the mind become Karma Yoga. All puja, all karmas like yajna, yaga, all these things, japa, all these things will come under Karma Yoga. Even the bhakti, depending on the meaning of the bhakti, will come under one of the 2 yogas. Either it may be Jnana Yoga or Karma Yoga. Jnana Yoga is the ultimate form of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Parakasta is Jnana Yoga. People think that Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are different. It is not so. The Parakasta, the climax of Bhakti Yoga is nothing but the Jnana Yoga. So that way we have 2 sadhanas, and of these 2 sadhanas, we have to do both the sadhanas. There is absolutely no choice at all. We have to do Karma Yoga, cleanse the Antakarnas, and then get qualified, enter into Jnana Yoga. This is the scheme. Then we have a choice with regard to the lifestyle that we adopt. Either we can be in the society and we can pursue both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Or we can be outside the society as a sannyasi and follow both sadhanas. And in fact, there is a third option also. The third option is be in the society, follow Karma Yoga, get out of the society, follow Jnana Yoga. So these are the 3 options one has with reference to the lifestyles. Option 1, we repeat this, option 1 is to be in the society and follow both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. That means to be in the Gruhastha Ashrama. You can do all rituals, do all karmas, yet pursue Jnana Yogam. You can do Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam under a competent guru, as we are all doing now. We are all Gruhasthus and doing this Sravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam. This is option 1. Stay in the Gruhastha Ashrama. Then option 2, do not become a Gruhastha at all. from brahmacharya ashrama, straight away a person can take up sannyasa ashrama and follow both purification and acquiring the knowledge. This is the second option. In the second option, one goes directly from brahmacharyam to sannyasa ashramam. He will skip the gruhastha ashrama. So this is the second option. The third option, which is prescribed by the scriptures, is enter gruhastha ashrama, follow karma yoga, then quit the gruhastha ashrama and become sannyasi, follow jnana yoga. Don't get afraid. Don't be, in a feeling that I am advocating the third option. The third option is also there, which a Jabala Upanishad says, from brahmacharyam go to gruhastha ashramam, from gruhastha ashramam go to vanaprastham, from vanaprastham go to sannyasam. The stages Jabala Upanishad prescribes. So the most popular option. Now when it comes to the sannyasa ashrama, one has to be very much prepared and matured. Otherwise, it will become a mockery. His sannyasahood becomes a mockery. So he will become a kuhana sannyasi, a false sannyasi. Only for rope's sake, for akarope's sake, he will be a sannyasi. But in his mind, he is a gruhastha. So, if anybody wants to take up sannyasa asrama, one should question whether he can remain in that sannyasa asrama or not, because the sannyasa asrama is a one-way traffic. You cannot come back once you take up sannyasa asrama. So, it is only for a mature and prepared mind that the sannyasa asrama is prescribed, as I told you in the last class. On the contrary, if one takes in Bhajagovindam, Shankara Bhagavad Pada criticizes such sannyasis. Jatulo mundi lunchita kesaha, kashayambara bahukruta veshaha, pasyannapichana pasyati moodaha, udara nimittam bahukruta veshaha. Just to fill the stomach, he will have a long dadi and different types of veshams. He will wear a big turban and pose like a yogi. In fact, he is not a proper yogi. So this is the situation. And coming to the Gruhastu, in the previous 3 slokas, Paramatma said that the Gruhastu must have a discipline of Ragam and Dvesham. Ragam and Dvesham means he should have check on his desires. Now, in the previous chapter, we have already discussed about the desires. Can a Gruhastu have desires or not? Can he entertain desires or not? That was the question. Then the discussion was like this: he can have any number of desires, no issue. But the desires should be non-binding, they should not bind him. Like Swamiji gives his own example. His parents must have dreamt so many things about him, but they did not know that he will become a sannyasi. So like that, you do not know whether your desires will be fulfilled or not. You can have any number of desires, but they should be non-binding. Non-binding means even if they are not fulfilled, you should be in a position to accept it, accept and accommodate. Even if they are not fulfilled, even if the results are adverse and not in your favor, you should be in a position to accept it as Ishvara Prasadam. So such desires are called non-binding desires. And the second condition was the desires must be legitimate. The desire should not be illegitimate. The desires must be within the domain of the prescriptions of Veda. Veda prescribes do's and don'ts. So whatever is vihitam, you can desire. Then the third condition is moderate. The desires must be moderate. You cannot have desires which are beyond your means and a dream. So three conditions are: desires must be non-binding, desires must be legitimate, the desires must be moderate. So this is while talking about the dvesha and raga of a gruhastha we are talking. A dvesha, a raga will lead us to the desires. So this dvesha and raga must be disciplined if you want to achieve your target. Shankaracharya tells that even gods have likes and dislikes. Gods have likes and dislikes. Like, Ganapati Maharaj will prefer a mouse to take him. Lord Vishnu prefers eagle. Shiva prefers ox. So like that, their vehicles, they have their preferences. They have likes. Similarly, their musical instruments, they have their likes. Lord Krishna prefers flute. Saraswati prefers veena. So that way they have their preferences. In the same way, a gruhastu can have preference. If the preference is not available, he should not brood. That is what we say non-binding desires. Non-binding desires means they should not bind a person. Then the sloka number 4. Sankhya yogo prudak balaha pravadanti na panditaha ekamapyastitas samyak ubhayor vindate phalam. Sankhya yogo prudak itiye balaha pravadanti na pandita ekam api samyak astitaha purushaha ubhayoho phalam vindate. Ignorant people assert that sannyasa ashrama and gruhastha are different. Sannyasa and karma yoga are different. Here, the sannyasa and karma yoga means he is talking about the ashrama. Sannyasa ashrama and gruhastha ashrama are different. But this is not the opinion of the wise. Only ignorant people think that they are different. By means of what? By getting the karma phala, because the sannyasa ashrama and both gruhastha ashrama will give you moksham. In terms of the target, in terms of the object or the aim, both ashramas are same in achieving their object or the target. So, by taking up sannyasa ashrama, you can achieve moksham. By taking gruhastha ashrama, you can achieve moksham. They are not prudak, they are not different. By resorting to any one of them properly, one attains the result of both. Therefore, Krishna Paramatma concludes, both ashramas are equally efficacious. Paramatma does not talk about 4 ashramas here. He is taking only 2 ashramas into account. Here the ashrama means way of life. The two ashramas in Krishna's mind are Gruhastha ashrama known as Pravrutti Marga and Sannyasa Marga or Sannyasa Ashrama known as Nivrutti Marga, the life of seclusion. So, Balaha Pravadanti. Balaha means childish people. What do they say? Sankhya Yogo Prudak Iti. Sankyam and Yogam, both are different. Sankyam refers to the Sannyasa Ashrama, Yogam refers to the Gruhastha Ashrama. So only unintelligent people talk that they give different results. In fact, these ignorant people, they say that moksham is only for sannyasis, not for gruhastu. This is not correct. So here, Paramatma is clarifying that a gruhastu is also entitled for moksham. In fact, the entire Bhagavad Gita is meant for gruhastu. So, ekamapi samyak astitaha. So, you can take up any ashrama according to your mental state. So, if you are more compassionate and if you are more a family man, you cannot run away and take up sannyasa ashrama. It will be a disaster. So, you can continue to be a gruhastu, yet you can get moksham. You can get jivan mukti and videha mukti. That is the very purpose of Bhagavad Gita. Ubayoho phalam vindate. By taking any one of these two ashramas, you can get the benefit of moksham. Immature people, uninformed people only say pravadanti, prattle, that they are different. They only say because of their ignorance that sannyasa ashrama and gruhastha ashrama, they are different, and they think that sannyasa ashrama alone can give moksham, which is not correct. So here, if anybody talks about this kind of argument, only sannyasi is entitled, you can mention this sloka. So, in fact, there is a parampara called the Gruhastu Parampara. Gruhastu Guru Sishya Parampara is there in our scriptures. Scriptures very much recommend father-son parampara. That is, Guru is father, son is the Sishya. So this kind of parampara is there in Upanishads itself, where the topic is moksham. So this is called the Gruhastu Guru Sishya Parampara. This represents that a Gruhastu is entitled for moksham. Om Brahma Devanam Pradamas Sambhavuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta Sabrahma Vidyayam Sarva Vidyam Pratishta Adharvaya Jeshta Putraya Praha. So, Saha means that Bhagavan gave this to his son Chaturmukha Brahma. This means what? This knowledge, Sarva Vidyam Pratishtam, this ultimate knowledge, the Upanishadic knowledge, the Vedic knowledge is given unto the Chaturmukha Brahma by Vishnumurti, Paramatma Vishnumurti. Then what did Brahma do? Brahma initiated his elder son, Jeshta Putraya, Adharvaya Praha. He initiated or he explained this knowledge, this sacred knowledge unto his elder son, Adharvana. So this is what we have in Upanishad called Mundakopanishad, wherein Guru is father and Shishya is son. So Upanishadic knowledge is nothing but the Moksha Shastram. So the knowledge of Upanishad is Moksha Shastram. So a Gruhastu is 100% entitled for Moksham. That is what we want to emphasize by this example. Not only this, in Taittiriya Upanishad also we have one more example. Bhrugurvai varunihi varunam pitaram upasasara adihi bhagavo brahmeti tasmat yetat provacha. So Bhrugu, he approached his father Varuna and requested him, "Hey Bhagavan, please teach me Brahma Vidya. Teach me about that absolute Brahma." So here we have got a very nice example saying that a Gruhastu is entitled for Jnana. So only those who do not know about Shastram will talk that Sannyasa Ashrama and Gruhastha Ashrama, they are Prudak. Balaha ye pravadanti. Only unintelligent people will talk. They think that Sannyasa Ashrama alone can give the liberty, which is not true. So the same thing Paramatma is emphasizing in sloka number 5. Yat sankye prapyate sthanam tadyogairapi gamyate ekam sankyancha yogancha yap pasyati sapasyati. Yat sthanam sankhye prapyate. Whatever is the benefit a sannyasi gets, whatever is the lakshyam a sannyasi has, tat yogaihi api gamyate. Even a gruhastu can achieve that. So this is the emphasis. Yaha sankyam cha yogam cha ekam pasyati. One who understands both sankyam and yogam. That sankyam and yogam means sannyasasrama and gruhasthasrama both are same. Sahayeva pasyati. Only he understands the scriptures in the right sense. So we have to understand both ashramas will lead the person to liberation. A person is entitled to moksham either by taking up sannyasa ashrama or by taking up gruhastha ashrama. We already discussed there are certain advantages, certain disadvantages. We already discussed there are certain advantages and certain disadvantages in both the ashramas. Like the sannyasa ashrama, you have got ample time. The quality time is available for sadhaka to pursue the scriptures, the scriptural studies, and to revel on the Upanishad, to revel on the teaching, and to have nikshta, and to have nishtha, he has got enough time. Whereas a gruhastu is in the thick of things. A gruhastu is very much engaged in his day-to-day affairs. So because he is engaged in day-to-day affairs, he cannot concentrate on nididhyasanam. So this is the situation. So he has to provide some special time. He has to give priority to learning and having a doubtless knowledge, and then to have the contemplation. So the sloka number 5 says that both Gruhastu as well as a sannyasi will have moksham. Then sixth sloka will say Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptumayo gatah yogayukto munir brahma achirena adigacchati. He mahabaho ayogataha sannyasaha tu dukkham aptum yoga yuktaha munihi achirena brahma adigacchati. O Arjuna, sannyasa is difficult to attain without karma yoga, but devout karma yoga attains Brahman before long. So ayogataha means without performing the karma yoga, if one enters the sannyasa ashrama, directly take up the jnana yoga without cleansing the antakarnas, it will be a disaster. His mind is not cleansed. So, though he understands the subject academically, he understands in the theoretical sense, but it will not give such a sannyasi the proper result. Like Shivananda, when he wanted to take up sannyasa, he met some sannyasis in the Rishikesh. Some of them advocated him, it seems, don't take up sannyasa. Now, after taking sannyasa, I am feeling very much sorrow because I don't go home. I cannot live here. I am lost in both the worlds. I don't fit in here, nor I can go back. So don't ever venture to take up sannyasa. That is what some of the sannyasis advised. You will really starve for food, they said. And some sannyasis, they will have rajasic gunam. They will have a lot of rajogunam. Because of that rajogunam, they may do some kind of business like selling rudraksha. They, import rudrakshas and sell them. And some sannyasis, they sit before the parliament and fight for, kutiyas for all sannyasis. So, like that, depending on the pravrutti, depending on the nature, if a sannyasi is not, matured enough, then he cannot get moksham. He will only get a lot of dukkham. Dukkham aptum ayogataha. So he will have lot of pain. He cannot accommodate the sannyasa ashrama. Because he cannot accommodate the sannyasa ashrama, so it will be a great difficult stage for him. Here Paramatma adds a new information. Until now, he said both ashramas are equally efficacious as far as they are concerned. They are looked at objectively, like different subject matter that there is in an university, like the different subject matters like physics, chemistry, and other subjects. You cannot say one is superior to the other. You can never say one science is superior to the other science. As long as the utility is concerned, all sciences are equally useful. Similarly, Krishna Paramatma says even though both ashramas are equally efficacious, from the standpoint of a person's preparation level, we can find out which one is better. And if you are going to study from that angle, Paramatma says, for a mature and prepared mind, sannyasa ashrama is okay, fine, and it is wonderful. It gives a good ambience for him to proceed in the direction of moksha. So, whatever it be, if a person is having a matured mind and preparedness, for him it is the best suited ashram. On the contrary, if a person is immature, then if he takes up sannyasa, he cannot tolerate that loneliness. He will think, who is there for me? Where is the security for me? No one cares for me. And if you are a sannyasi, they come and tell their problems. No one listens your problem. So, a sannyasa ashrama has got a plus point and also minus point. Plus point is you get quality time. If you are lucky, if you get a right guru, a Srotriya Brahmanishta, you are 100% sure that you can get Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. The security appears to be not there, but if one is having an absolute reverence towards God, his security is taken care by God himself. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate yogatshemam aham vahami. I will take care of your yogatshemam. So that is what Paramatma declared. So, as far as security is concerned, a sannyasi need not worry. A sannyasi is more happier than a gruhastha. So, though we said that in the sloka number 4 and 5, both the ashramas are equally efficacious, depending on the mental level, the ashrama, what ashrama you choose, you can get the benefit. So, that is the advantage. For a gruhastu, he has got sufficient security, people there around to take care of him. He can have bank balance, he can have things in favor, like house and other things are there, security is there. So that advantage is there, but quality time is not available. When he is fully engaged in day-to-day affair, he cannot afford to have quality. So that is the disadvantage a gruhastu will have. So 7th sloka we'll see. Yoga yukto visuddhatma vijitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvannapi nalipyate. Having mastered the body, sense, organs, the pure-minded karma yogi becomes Atma, which is the self of all beings. Though in action, he is not affected. So, if one masters the body, sense organs, then such a pure-minded karma yogi, he will have union with Atma. He is the Atma himself. So when he is Atma himself, he is not different from other people, because his Atma alone is there in other people. So he doesn't differentiate between himself and the other person. Because as Atma, he is only there everywhere. So, though in action, he is not affected. So, for such a karma yogi, though he is in the thick of actions, he will not accrue agami, because in his hearts of hearts, he thinks that he is akarta abhokta. Because he is akarta abhokta, he is not affected at all. That is the advantage. Whereas, if you are not prepared and you take up a sannyas ashrama, how it will be? For this, Swamiji gave an example. It appears one lady in Bombay married a person in America and went there to live with him. The husband was working, the wife is not working. So wife is, she stayed at home. So when he went to work, he had an independent house, he went to work, and in the entire house, this lady was all alone. Absolute silence. There is no sound at all. She is totally taken away. In India, you get lot of sounds. You have no choice of living in a silent manner. That too in a place like Bombay, a lot of this traffic, the noise from the roads. So this lady felt so obsessed that soundless state she could not tolerate. She went into mental depression. She could not stand that silence. So she went into a depression. She started harassing the husband. And finally, a psychologist suggested if they move to India, the problem will be solved. So the person was forced to come to India, and she could come out of that mental illness. So that way, if a sannyasi is not prepared, that loneliness will kill him inch by inch. So he is up to any mischief. He can do any harm to the society. So Swamiji says, if you are not prepared, if you are not matured, don't take up sannyasa ashram. Reserved only for matured and prepared mind. So that is why Paramatma knows the mentality of Arjuna. So he says, don't ever try to run away from the battlefield. He always says, therefore you fight. So as a Gruhastu, you have to fight. That is your, rightful duty. So you have to fight. So that is the message given by Paramatma. He never advocated Arjuna to take up sannyasa, because he is not a matured person as far as the sannyasa ashrama is concerned. Only his that vairagyam is temporary vairagyam. So this is what happens if you are not having this. Ragadvesha also will be a problem if you are not addressing properly. When you are a sannyasi also, lot of ragadvesha will linger around. People talk a lot of politics. lot of things which are not desirable. Even sannyasis talk politics and whatnot. So that ragadvesha must be disciplined. The ragadvesha are so difficult to avoid. In one village, a pious a monk entered. He usually wears one piece of cloth only. He just covers his body with one single piece. He was called Ekambari because he is having a single vastra to cover his body. So he never had a house. So he used to go to house and beg for the food. So whatever the bhiksha he gets, he goes to the village, the backyard, the last. He goes to the village side and sit on a rock and eat there. That rock is the permanent place where he sits and eats. So days passed by, people in that village used to respect him. So he never had a house, he never had even a begging bowl. He used to beg with his own hands. So such a simple person he was. One day, another sannyasi came. He was only having that kaupinam. So he's a kaupinadari. So he also begged in the village and went to the same rock. He doesn't know that rock is occupied by this Ekambari. So he went there and he sat on that rock. He sat on that rock and started eating. Meanwhile, this Ekambari finished his begging and he came to his rock. He found that this Kaupinadari sat there and started eating. So he could not tolerate that his rock being occupied by some other person. He went into a fury. So he kicked that Kaupinadari and said, "How dare you sit on my rock?" So this is what happens. So for a period of time, he was sitting in the same rock. He had that binding. He thinks that he owns that rock. Even in the classes, Swamiji says, the students, they sit in a particular seat. They think that that seat is their own. If somebody else sits there, they cannot tolerate. They will say, "This is my seat." So they are learning Vedantam, but in practice, this is what they are doing. So Ragam and Dvesham, we have to discipline. We should be free from Ragam and Dvesham. That is the most essential feature for the Chitta Suddhi. So if one person is Visuddhatma means one who is having disciplined his mind. Jitendriyaha means one who has got control, or one who disciplined his indriyas. Vijitatma means one who has controlled the body. That means you should have control of the body, control on the indriyas, control on the mind. So if you have the control on all the three, body, mind, sense, then follow the Karma Yoga. So such a person, he sees his Atma everywhere. Because he sees his Atma everywhere, he doesn't find any difference between himself and others. So he can always feel that his Atma alone is there. So there is no Dvesham, there is no Ragam. So such a person is the real sannyasi, Antara sannyasi. So a real sannyasi is described in Bhajagovindam. A sannyasi who lives either in the temple or under the tree, he is more happy because he doesn't have any of this ragam and dvesham. So the sum and substance of this particular portion, sloka number 4 up to 7, Paramatma wants to say that there is no difference between the two ashramas, sannyasa ashrama or gruhastha ashrama, as far as moksham is concerned. You can attain moksham taking up any ashrama. So both ashramas are equally efficacious as far as getting moksham. Then the next question is, which ashrama should we take? Which ashrama we should take means it depends on your mental makeup. If you are prepared, if you are matured, then the sannyasa ashrama is most apt for you. If you are not prepared and not matured, then gruhastha ashrama is suitable for you. Gruhastha ashrama is a difficult thing because one has to take up all responsibilities and yet pursue the knowledge. Whereas for sannyasa, you have got a quality time. You can study Vedanta with absolute concentration and achieve Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti. So this is the thing. And also Paramatma told there is a choice in the lifestyle, but there is no choice in the sadhana. Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga, there is no choice. Even sannyasi has to take up the Karma Yoga and cleanse his antakaranas and prepare himself, achieve Chitta Suddhi, Chitta Ekagrata, Chitta Vaisalyata, and make himself fit for Jnanam, and then study the Jnanam under a competent Shrotriya Brahmanishta for a consistently long time. So this is the essence. We will learn more in the next class. Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudatyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.